Hello and welcome to the Recognise podcast. The Recognise podcast is a place where we share stories that make life meaningful, asking what it's really like to live in someone else's shoes. Today we're chatting with the wonderful Emma Neville. Emma is a fully trained counsellor, a dedicated philanthropist, and now an accredited menopause coach and founder of the online platform and community This Is Me, a space for women to find community as they navigate life's challenges together. As well as all of this, she is married to Gary and is a mum to 2 girls. Before we jump in, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all our Recognise podcast episodes. Emma,
Hi.
welcome to the Recognise podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're here.
Me too.
I like to start every episode by recognising my guest, and I have 3 things that came to mind for you. So the first thing that came to mind, I think you are so kind, and we'll probably share how we met in a bit, but this is our first time meeting in person, and just even over the internet stratosphere emails, I've picked up just this kindness, and you're so generous with your words. I think, when some people are a bit cool and they don't need to but you're just sending kisses and lots of love. Emma, I'm oh, this woman's gorgeous, and that just shines out of you. And then I've just spent the last half an hour with you, and I'm oh my gosh, I feel so at ease. You really put people at ease.
Thank you.
The second thing I really recognise in you is your bravery. I think people will be sick of hearing me say this now, but everyone who comes on here, I'm thank you, you're so brave, because you don't have to say anything. You could go through your life not putting anything out there, and it would be so much easier, wouldn't it? Just be a lot easier just to do your life, go through your stuff, and and I just think it's really brave, and I'm just really in awe of what you've created with This Is Me. And
thank you again.
Particularly with, as we will come on to talk about, it's a vulnerable thing that you've been through, and sharing that's not easy. So I think you're really brave. And the third thing, I really see a helper in you. Have you been described as a helper before?
I would personally say I'm a rescuer. I would call myself
a
rescuer.
Okay, it's a similar word.
Yes, helper. I'd like to think that,
Yeah.
yes, actually, but I don't recognise that everyone's really said the word helper.
Yeah, I feel like someone that really wants to help people, whether you know them or don't know them, or if it's charity or women or your kids. Or when I called you, you were helping your mum, and it just feels like you're always kind of scooping everyone up. That's what I've observed of you.
Well,
the little time
I'm glad
that
you've
I've known
observed
you.
it.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? What
No, it
comes
is.
out.
Yes.
So I obviously think you're amazing. For people who don't know you, can you give us a little synopsis of who you are and what's important to you?
Yes, so as you know, my name's Emma. I'm just turned 45, and I think for me in life, it's about really valuing, the way, I suppose, the way you've been brought up, your roots, and never forgetting where you've come from. Is so important to me. I try and instill that into my girls. I've got 2 teenage girls, 15 and 16 just, and I think you can only try and instill that, and hopefully the manners and everything like that are so important to me. And as you've just described, their helper, I feel like I do want to rescue, I would say, probably the world, and I know it's not possible. And so I just try and do my bit as I can, and what I see that I can try and make changes in however way I can. I know sometimes they might not be as big as some other people's, but I always say I go to bed at night and I feel when I put my head on the pillow, I've done the best in that day that I can. So for me, it could be speaking to a lady. Just stopped me then, actually, as an example, and I was rushing to an appointment, and she said, "Have you got any money?" And I said, "I'm so sorry." And she started, I feel like I draw people in, and she was telling me a story that she just got off a train and blah, blah, blah. And I said, "I'm so sorry." But even though I had 3 minutes to the appointment, I felt like I gave her my time. So sometimes it can just be recognising that I do try and do that throughout a day. It could be giving somebody a compliment, stopping somebody or helping them. But I feel like I do draw people in sometimes, and but I enjoy that. I do. I get a nice feeling. Warm fuzzies inside when I do things like that. And I think that's what sometimes, for me, that's what life is about.
Yeah. And you live in Manchester.
I do. Live in the city centre. We've lived here now 5 years. Within my time being with Gary, we've moved 9 times. So I think we have little bits of, I don't know, itchy feet. So we get to places, and then kind of, we settle, but then I've had homes where I've really settled. I think at the moment, this one is definitely a place where I do feel content. Maybe moved our children a little bit too early into the city.
Was that with Gary's career?
Yes, he was just sick of the commute from where we were, kind of getting to his office in the centre. So, but the home that we did leave, I still think of it and I still love that home. So yeah, and so do the girls.
Yeah.
So there's parts of that, but I do love where we are now. But yeah, I just think nothing. I always think it's bricks and mortar, and I've kind of, I think I've learned that from Gary actually, that, you know, it's what goes on inside the home. It's not the actual aesthetics and the, you know, the building and things like that. It is what is actually going on within that space that is most important. So your home can be anywhere you feel comfortable and quiet and peaceful and just want to, your sanctuary, isn't it really? So yeah, definitely.
So you make home, the family makes the home, so it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, so I feel like, yeah, it is important, and I suppose for everyday life and getting about, but really it's what happens within those, you know, those walls.
4 walls.
Yes.
And if someone was to live a day in your shoes, what would they find surprisingly easy and what would they find unexpectedly hard?
Oh, great question. I think they would probably find easy is the way. Are you relating that to kind of me as a person, or just anything? I would say everything's kind of, I want to say organised. So you could come into my home and everything would have its place and its kind of way of being. But I do find that like it's a positive. Sometimes, you know, it's organised around different times. I feel like I have to be organised because it's so busy really some days that, you know, after school activities, I'm in the car most nights at 9 o'clock.
So you're doing food tech runs?
Yes, so today, food tech.
Such a throwback. Yeah.
And then you can't find the ingredient. You're going, oh my gosh, why no, this lovely added into the day. So yeah, it's every day is very different.
I've got a new appreciation for my mum, and 4 kids probably all doing food tech at some point. We all probably had food tech classes around the same time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate that. She's like, not another lasagna.
So I'd say I'd find it easy because I feel organised and I feel like I'm kind of in control of, you know, we're in a routine. I like routine and pattern, and I think we're all creatures of habit. We all thrive on routine, don't we? And having, you know, a schedule and somewhere to be. And the other question is
unexpectedly hard. What would be hard?
Unexpectedly hard.
Being Emma Neville.
I think, well, I will say from personally, I feel like why now at this stage I'm learning to let that go, and I've let a lot go, but it's kind of fear of judgment of what people used to, well, maybe still do think of you. Just sometimes when you're attached to somebody who is in the public eye, there's a lot of opinions. Not that I've ever felt that has ever affected me, and I think I can speak from friends who have had since 5-year-old. You know, I've still got those friends and school friends, and they say I've not changed, but I think people like to think that it could change you, but I personally believe that it's not changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there was lots of judgment around, that's held me back. And I've got to a stage of my life in the last, probably, I think, since menopause really, last 5 years, where I just think now, I'm giving up on worrying about that. Not everybody's going to like me.
Your secrets.
Yeah, no, it's hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite mastered everything, but I'm a bit like, why am I letting other people hold me back? And
wow.
I've got to go for it now, you know. Nothing is given, tomorrow's not given. So
100%.
Just, I would feel, I don't want any of those feelings of regrets of thinking, why didn't I try it and just see? Yeah. And I've always been someone who said, well, what if it fails? But actually sometimes some things, what can fail? Everything is kind of
and what does failure even mean?
Yes, exactly.
I saw someone wrote something today on Instagram that said, if you're going to fail, make sure it's like the things that you love doing.
Brilliant.
You can't fail at what you love doing.
No, and I'll just give a little shout out for Gary because he has a failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. That's what failure is a bruise, not a tattoo.
That's so cool. And for context, Gary, for those that don't know, Gary, I don't want to do his explanation. I'll mess it up. He's amazing, isn't he? Like
he's a good guy. He is. He's very
really inspirational.
Yeah, he's very inspirational.
Is ex-footballer the right word?
Yes, he used to be. Manchester United, but now, class of '92.
You tell us. Who is Gary?
I'm not going to big him up. But
no, we won't big him. This is about you.
But yeah, no, and I kind of feel like we met at the stage of his career was coming towards the ending. He was ready to kind of finish, had an injury and everything. But it was interesting because I kind of was really into football because I've got two brothers and I used to watch it. Could never afford to go to Manchester United. I was an Oldham fan. I had a season ticket there for 3 years. And so it kind of was built in the family environment. But yeah, we met. And I think because he's so grounded, it never felt like, he was in the public eye, but it never felt like it was in the public eye. We're very private people. Family's everything to us. And I think that's what it was. It was very much instilled that it was never forget, your roots and how you've got here and the commitment that your family and parents put into you getting to, and your own dedication, obviously, as well. So, no, he's very successful. A bit annoying because he's good at everything. But, that's how I describe him.
Yeah, but then that unexpectedly hard thing of kind of being married to someone in that, and the kind of the judgment of fame and money, I bet, as well, and all of that comes into that.
Lots of things that I think that you kind of, you yourself, but you don't want to add kind of elements of it into your life. So I think I've fought a lot of that at times to not accept because it's part of me, but just to steer away of just because of that fear of people putting a label or a judgment on you. So, but I've always been true to me and I kind of know who I am, but it's definitely come out in the last 5 years. I'm just like, no, I'm not allowing that to get in the way anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm excited to get into that because, gosh, I need to know. How do you throw that off? So let's get into your what's it likes. So your first what's it like is what's it like to be a mum?
Yes, really good question. What's it like to be a mum? I always say I wish there was a manual on it because someone would be a triple millionaire, like billionaire. Every day is a skill day, learning. It's the best, I like saying job, it's the best role, it's the best privilege I could say to be. It's not everybody's granted it. And I feel very, very blessed. I've got two beautiful girls that drive me mad at times, and I'm sure I drive them mad too. So it's vice versa, as it is, lots of hormones flying around. But also I do think sometimes, I'm going to bring it in here, as like it's not recognised in everything that you do as a mum. And it's kind of sometimes, it can be a little bit like, you just want a little bit back or appreciated. And it shouldn't be that you want thanked for everything, but
from your kids or from society as a whole? Would you think it's
a bit of both, And I think as you do become mum's taxi, and it's just that's what you want to do. You do want to run them around. You don't want to get out and say thanks, mum, for taking me here, because you're actually enjoying it yourself. But sometimes it's just like it feels like, oh gosh, it's just you there. And I think it's this teenage stage which I'm struggled with the most, I suppose, if I'm being honest. That their friends are more important than you now, and that kind of. You are just there to kind of make the food and
you're
run
just
them
pouring
around.
out.
Yes. And that's not, they're brilliant girls. And, I sometimes think, do I expect too much of them? I don't. Sometimes you just want that little bit of just a few words. I'm such a word person, like my love language is words.
That's my love language.
So I want to say that guy who goes, oh, don't do that again. But I just need words. Yes.
So you just need that encouragement.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that is a biggie. But it's amazing. And I know that as the years are now going on, that school run is not going to be no longer always going to happen. It's going to come to an end, and I'm sure I'll miss it. So those things that you moan about, you end up missing. But it's been amazing. I've really enjoyed it. I actually loved being pregnant too. So for some people, I hate that stage, but at the minute now, I think I need a dog maybe to come in and be
I've got a dog.
Surprised and happy to see me.
And then I guess like society-wise, mums being overlooked, can you share more about that? Do you feel that as a mum? Do you recognise that for other mums?
I do. I think, again, it's, everyone's journey is different,
so
everyone's
different.
background and what they're doing in their day-to-day life. If you're a stay-at-home mum, if you're a working mum, there's so many layers, and there's so much more opportunities now that everybody, is just doing their best. And I think that's what it is. And again, as long as you know that you've done your best in that day, that's all you can kind of wish for and hope that you've done for yourself, really, and as well supported everybody within your family. I think it's sometimes it can be a tough role with, lots of elements and layers into your day that I do believe, like, sometimes I think, your partner or your husband or something, they kind of got this focus, and it's that one focus, and they manage to get everything done. And sometimes you're a bit resentful because you're like, oh my gosh, they've got the gym done.
Yeah.
They've fed themselves well today. They've done all the job works that they've needed to do, and then they come home and then they want to chill and switch off, when you're still on that role of, oh my gosh, well, what's tomorrow? Is everything ready for the morning? Is everything
social
done?
diaries, Christmas plans, holiday
birthday
plans.
presents. Mum, it's my friend's birthday. Have you got that?
Women carry so much of that, don't they? That they, I don't know if the guys, I don't want to give them such a hard time, but I think they're slightly oblivious to it, of all the things. And I read something recently that, at Christmas for women, it's so much more stressful because they're the ones carrying the weight of, what are we getting? I'm often working out what we're getting Joel's mum. Yes. It's like, you're taking that and then the food and all of it. Although I don't do the food because we go to my mum's. But there's a lot more, isn't there? And I think,
there is,
do you find that, like, being a mum, that pressure to also kind of be all things to everyone, and maybe also pressure from, I don't know whether it's like you say, you've got to be there for your kids, your husband, for like everything else that you're doing. Do you ever feel pressured to be like the perfect mum?
I hate the word perfect. Yeah, it's a really strange thing. I don't believe anything is perfect. Everything's growing and linear. But I think, like, what you're saying is that you do want to be the best version of you and say, oh, you've managed all this. And sometimes it's great, isn't it, when you've got that tick list and you've achieved everything off it. It's like, so, amazing. You can go to bed feeling lighter. So I suppose there is pressure on yourself, but do we put our own pressure on ourselves sometimes? And I think I'm definitely learning that I do. I'm not great at delegating, and that's something I want to learn more to do. Because I say it, saying, like, if you want a job doing, do it yourself. I hear myself saying it, but sometimes it is better you do it because you know it'll be done right. So sometimes I think, well, if I did want the dishwasher emptying, would they do it too?
Oh, how do you like your dishwasher doing?
Like, would it go back where I want it? Sometimes I just think, why would it? I'd only moan about it anyway, so I may as well do it myself.
Or accept that it's not going to be done exactly how you want it, but you've benefited from someone else doing it. And you've got a bit of time back.
Definitely.
It's, like, but it's in reality, that's so hard to do, isn't it?
It is, letting go of some things, and allowing others to do it their way.
Yeah, and help you. Do you ever, like, experience mum guilt or comparison? Have you ever struggled with that?
It's an interesting one because I feel like at the moment, I'm not sure whether it's mum guilt, but as I'm getting busier and things are, progressing with This Is Me, my eldest doing a GCSE starts May the 9th, and I'm kind of feeling I shouldn't be putting anything in May, June kind of times, and I really am going to be there for her. But I'm like, but does it mean I've put my life on hold when I know that, like, her school day is going to be in and out and everything like that? So I'm getting a little bit of this icky feeling, I want to call it, at the minute, where I'm just not sure I'm doing the right thing. Yes, and I'm trying to keep diaries free, but then I'm kind of also not wanting to miss opportunities or things that I'm really enjoying. So
so that tension of being pulled between like different priorities. And,
and she is my priority, and I definitely will make sure everything is whatever she wants. I'll do. But I feel a little bit unsettled at the moment. I have to say that because it's creeping up very quickly.
Yes, and that, you just said that fear of, like, not doing the right thing. I think that can so grip us in life, can't it?
It's like,
I should be doing, and you don't know.
No.
But I think I've been trying to really work through recently of realising there isn't a right or wrong.
Yes.
There actually, you can't, there actually isn't a right or wrong, and that kind of, sometimes that thinking can make it, you get really stuck because you're like, you can kind of freeze a bit because you don't, then you're not going to take those opportunities, or you don't know how to be best there for her. And
it's new because I've never been here before, whereas next year my youngest will be doing the same, so I'll be more experienced.
Yeah.
So it's like that first time for everything. It's sometimes a little bit like, oh, but I always say, well, we're going through this together and we're learning together. So all those stages that then come into life as they grow, you're both learning. And I kind of say that even like with the hormones and things, that's how I described it. Like, I've never been here before having, kind of that feeling of I've had it from my own point of view, but how is it for you? And it's kind of sharing in those experiences, definitely. We're all just learning each other's, I suppose, ways of dealing with things. Yeah.
And that's such a like gracious way to look at it as well. We're learning.
We're learning, yeah.
We're on a
definitely.
journey. No one's going to get it like
No.
100% right.
No.
And we can all learn from each other. But I also think what you're getting at as well is this idea in terms of feeling pulled in different directions. It's about kind of your identity as Emma
Yes.
and mum.
Yeah.
And wife.
Yes.
And, you know, owner and founder of This Is Me, and Emma the philanthropist, and Emma, all these parts of you. Do you find as a mum, like, how do you think motherhood, like, changed you in a way, like, or defined you? And where do you find you in that?
Yes, I think it was like, again, it was, like I said before, the best role like I could ever wish for. It's amazing, every part of it, all with its, you know, ups and downs, sadness, laughter, everything. But I think you get to a stage where you do, for me personally, I lost my identity and I wanted to be that mum who literally was there for them, and I did that, and I'm very grateful that I could. And then you kind of do lose parts of you and you're just the mum. And that's how it took a long time to kind of get me back. Yeah, and I felt like, oh my gosh, like, how do you get out of this? And then being out of things change, and different, not my circles, but just like different roles and different accountability was like, oh my gosh, right. So that's what I do there. But how do I now enter into this world? And yeah, you feel a little bit left behind, a little bit stagnant. But I think I've learned to just say, well, who is, like, nobody's a master of anything. It's kind of, we're all growing and evolving as we go. And that's, I think, how I've got my head around it, really, in this, entering into this new chapter of, like, this is me, and just putting myself out there. But yeah, I think there's lots of layers, isn't there? Yeah, that's how I feel. There is a lot of layers to mum. And all you can do is just, try and be your best as what you're doing, really, and just support them in, in their decisions, and allowing them to make mistakes and their own decisions and things, and just thinking, well, yeah, I did that when I was their age too. Yeah. And if not worse.
But I think that, like, goes really nicely onto your next what's it like, which is what's it like to recreate yourself and evolve. And I think, this sort of speaking to that sense of, and I think this is really true for a lot of, like, mums in society, is this feeling either they feel it themselves, or then it is overlooked and they're not recognised. So it's like, oh, they're just a mum. And that kind of the appreciation of what a mum does and the role of a mum and all they carry. Something that's really inspiring about your story is, it feels like you are such a learner. Like, you're always trying, well, I'm learning from you today. You're like, you're never done. It's always about learning.
Yeah.
And you chose to become a counsellor.
I did.
And go through, it was a long process, like 3.5 years, I think.
I did it part-time, but I did.
Yeah. And how old were your kids?
So I do think they were, he's going to question me now. Everything feels so. I think they were about 9 or 10 when I qualified. Yes, around then.
And so that kind of came from that place of, like, oh, I'm kind of ready to do something.
Yeah, something now. They was getting a little bit independent. I think girls are quite independent. And it was something I always knew I wanted to do in my 20s. And I always used to say at work, like, I'm going to do counselling. I want to be a counsellor. And I'm just so glad I didn't at that stage of my life, because I think life experiences, being that mid-30s when I set out to do this, was I had so many much more experiences of life. Again, being the mum, marrying Gary, being married, being a wife, all these different elements of, like, gosh, doing courses and different things and achieving things. And it just felt like, I'm so glad I did that at the right time. And it's been a privilege. It really has. I think the best thing out of it is that when you're in a room with somebody and sat with them, and they own, what's going on for them, and they might have never shared that with anybody ever before, even so close to them, it's an absolute honour for you to be sat in that room and they share that with you. And I think that takes absolute courage and strength of people. And, I've not really, like, as I full-on cried with clients, but I've actually owned that I've been emotional and, had to wipe back some tears at times. But I think that just shows that you are being your authentic self and genuine, and, just saying that, wow, that's a lot. And, can I just, say to you, even me going through that is a lot of what's been shared. So it's been really challenging, but absolutely, so what do I want to use? Yeah, it's been empowering, really empowering to hear people's stories and journeys. And it makes you, I think sometimes when you think that you are having a bad day, you know, never judge till you walk to somebody else's shoes. I think 100%. You start with that, and it's kind of so true, that because you just don't know what someone's going through. They could have a really, you know, be having that bad day, and you take them on face value on that day, and it's sometimes, yeah, it's hard, that saying, isn't it? Don't, you know, never get a second chance to make a first impression, but some days you can't be on that, you know, being you, because you might have a lot going on. So yeah, and I just think people, when they come into the counselling room, it's like they own that, and they're just being really truthful about you know, what is going on for them, and it's powerful. Yeah, it really is. And like I say, I just think it's been one of the most, yeah, again, privileged roles that I've taken on and put my time into, and I feel like, yeah, it's been, I've met some amazing people. Yeah, some stick out more than others, and you shouldn't have
good reasons and bad reasons.
Yeah, you shouldn't have like your favourite clients and things, but these ones where I always think, I wish I could connect with them and find
really,
out
how
did
they're
they do
doing.
that.
Yeah.
So it's like quite sad in a way, because you can't get to that end, but then you just think, well, hopefully, like, yeah.
And you might be the only person there being able to talk about whatever it is ever.
Yeah.
And you've worked with all sorts of different types of people, haven't you?
Yeah, I did get quite through the, it was at a cancer centre, so I did get a lot of bereavement within the counselling there. So I feel like I've sat in quite a lot of deep sessions, yes. And again, just feel humbled that, you know, people are taking that first step to come. And I'm like, that is a first step, you know, owning that you want some help and feel you want to be heard and everything. And yeah, just it's amazing what people share, and their life stories and their journeys are just, it's powerful, I'd say. Yeah, that is a word I'd like to use. Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Brené Brown said if we went out onto the street and could see what everyone was carrying, we'd all be on our knees.
Oh, imagine if you could see in heads. I know, exactly.
Everyone has got something.
Yes.
And I often find as well, like more recently, like I'd struggle with my mental health, like on and off, but particularly the last year. And I had dinner with some friends about like 6 months ago, and I just realised they were both sharing what they were struggling with, and it was completely different things to what I'm struggling with. But I obviously wasn't happy for them, but I was like, I felt so much better when I went home, because I was like, we're all struggling. Yeah. And it wasn't even it's like I knew mentally, you know, everyone's got something they're going through. But actually when we share our struggles with one another, it's you feel so much more supported yourself.
It's like a relief, isn't it, in a way?
It's a relief. It's like, oh, okay. It just gives you perspective that it's not just happening to you. This bad thing, whatever it is, it's not just all coming at you. No. Everyone else has got stuff as well. Exactly. It kind of just... Yeah, it kind of made me be like, oh, it's okay. Yeah. It's going to be all right.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you say, you probably felt so light just saying, oh, they understand that. And just like getting it off your chest is like the best feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just shaking it off and just thinking, right, okay, I'm not alone here. And I think that is because we all sometimes feel, but people do want to listen. Yeah, people are there for you. And there's so many amazing services and, you know, they're doing great work, and charities and things that don't get the shout outs that they need. So yeah, there's some brilliant organisations out there that really do want to support people and do the best every day with little recognition, as they say, and don't get that. But they know they're doing it, so that's good. But no, it's been incredible, that journey, actually. Something will look back on and think it was worth all that time that I invested into it. Yeah, definitely.
But when you went to obviously do it, like I imagine that was quite vulnerable.
Very.
From feeling like you kind of lost your confidence a bit.
Yes.
Would you say that it's kind of
I felt
true?
like I was gaining my confidence back, but then there was this whole element of being you, an authentic self, and that was what you wanted your clients to be. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these elements of me do I want to share with everybody? And it was like, give as much as you want about yourself. You don't have to be fully exposed, but that felt quite raw at times. So I was really myself, but I held, and I kept thinking, well, I don't have to share all of me. So there was parts that I held back, and it was in that environment anyway. But I think as the time grew, and then when I went on to like the next level, level 4, was where the people that have been on level 3 came with me, so I felt more comfortable with them. So then little bits would come out a little bit more. But each year I felt like I evolved. But it was scary. It was quite daunting. I think for me particularly, I felt like there was another layer to me of, again, this fear of judgment of what are people going to think, like, you know, why was I doing this course? And then a bit of the nosiness that people would want to nosy in on your private life. And I was like, so private. So, yeah. And then I just thought, well, I don't need to give all of that away.
Just taking a little pause to tell you about Recognised, who brings you the Recognise What's It Like podcast. At Recognise, we give recognition to individuals, charities and causes to raise awareness, spark conversations and bring solidarity. Our award-winning jewellery brand creates beautiful jewellery that supports powerful causes, and 100% of profits from our iconic statement pop-ons are donated to our charity partners. Head to www.recognisestore.com to find out more and use the code EMMA15 to get 15% off your first purchase. And your like first day when you went to start this, how did you feel?
I nearly walked out. Yeah, I walked in the room, and I think I compared myself a lot as well to kind of everyone was throwing themselves, and I hate that anyway. When it's like you go
so
around,
awkward, isn't it?
it makes me, heart's literally jumping out of my chest. It's awful.
Yeah.
And like, what do you do and everything? And it was like, oh my gosh. And then, you know, people said, oh, I've just finished my study, I've just finished my uni, and I've got this, that and the other. And I thought, I've not been to uni. And then I kind of had this comparison that I wasn't good enough, and how was I going to get through it? Because it was new to me, this education, although I've done loads of different courses, but I was like, I'm in this environment again, and I felt very compared. It was me judging me, it was not them.
Yeah,
it was my
which
stuff.
Always is, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. So it was like, me versus me here. You've got to let that go. They were all good people, and I was really, impressed by them, and I'd probably put them on pedestals, and, just thought because I'd not had this like uni background that I just wasn't going to get to the end of this course. So it took a lot for me to achieve it, but I felt so good at the end when I got that certificate.
Well done.
I was like, and it was like, again, at a moment I had with Sufa, she's like, why does that piece of paper feel so important to you? And I was like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, it was there. And maybe because I'm such a visual learner, it was holding on to it. And
tangible.
It was like, it felt, tangible, and just like in front of me that I'd worked for that.
You can see.
It.
But how did you overcome the self-doubt and the comparison? Because it's those moments you just kind of hide.
I feel like there was vulnerability there, but I sometimes see that as your superpower kind of way of, just thinking, you've got this, and a lot of self-talk, I seem to do that, and just saying, again, I think I just kept thinking, you don't have to share all these elements of you. This is not what it's about, you're just Emma. And that's what I kind of kept saying. Like, it doesn't matter what your surname is or anything. I'm just wanting to be known as Emma.
Because do people know what you're saying? Did people know that?
It felt like...
Do you think they knew?
Yeah, it kind of I did. And then, because Google's so easy these days, isn't it? You can start looking anybody up and everything. So then I was like, oh my gosh, like... And then sometimes that daunting moment, someone goes, I feel like I've met you before, I know you. And I'd go then, I'd like shrink, and I'd feel like, oh my gosh, are they going to go and, look this up? It was very like, it's strange.
How did that make you feel?
Not good. I felt like...
What were you scared of?
I don't know what I was scared of really, because we're so grounded, and I'm really proud of everything and like my name and everything like that. But it just felt like I just didn't want that to be disclosed. Yeah, it just felt like, why does that need to be?
Is it also about, I wonder for you, is it also though about not wanting to be treated differently?
I think there was a lot of that. I think I just wanted to say, treat me as I'm at. And as well as life's gone on and people have met me and they've said to me, I don't watch football, I don't know that. I always go, that makes me feel so at ease, because I feel like they've not got anything on me before they've met me, and they've not judged me. Yeah. So I think there's this huge piece on judgment with me, and I've had to really deal with that through counselling, yes.
And throw that off.
Yeah, throw it off and just think, well, what does it matter? But it did matter to me, So it was quite a lot.
Wow.
I'm getting hot thinking about it. I feel like I'm in that room
also,
now.
my tummy's rumbling, if you can hear that. I guess, again, that like goes nicely onto, your next, what's it like?
Yes.
Which is, what's it like to have an early menopause POI diagnosis.
Yes.
And I think so much of letting go of the judgment is to do with this story.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
But you can tell me, what is a POI diagnosis?
Okay, so premature ovarian insufficiency, it stands for, and it was back in 2020, just coming up to my 40th birthday. All the signs were there, had a lot of symptoms. Again, just we'd gone into that lockdown. I was just starting to get clients and be, doing these 100 hours that you had to do within a placement and everything like that. And then everything came crashing down. And I was like, oh my gosh, now I've got to learn Google, this, that and the other on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such an in the room person. Like I wanted to be in the classroom and I couldn't. So I felt proud of myself that I got through again, learning new systems. I'd been out of that arena, if you want to call it, for a while. So I was like, okay, this or this. And I leaned into a lot of my, colleagues there and I was like, can you help me do this and stuff? But then there were just so many things the brain fog was horrendous and I just didn't know I was going to get to the end of it. That was one of the biggest symptoms for me within this menopause journey. And it's just that feeling of like, there was lots of symptoms, but that one was particularly, it was really stressing me out. And I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to get here now.
Not being able to remember things.
Yeah, to remember things and stuff. I was writing notes everywhere and just having to put tabs in cars to get the girls to the right netball court, and one was going that way and I felt so in fear of letting them down or turning it wrong. I was just and they were like, what are you doing, Mum? And I was like, I just have to remember it's 3 o'clock and you're there. It was crazy. And I think,
And what were some of your other symptoms?
So that was one of my worst ones. Then I had like joint pains, the insomnia, I was lay awake, used to see like every hour from 1, 2, 3, and I'd just get myself up out of bed because I think I'm not going to go back to sleep now. Get a herbal tea and just go and read or go out the way because it was just so frustrating. I do feel like lacking in confidence. My confidence has started to, a little bit dip off. Achy joints, like my skin felt very loose on my legs and things. I was exercising and I'd look down and think, is that my leg? Because I was doing all these crazy HIIT sessions. I think it was that moment where everyone was obsessed with exercise and lockdown, just quick 20 minutes. And I was like, probably over-exercising now I look at it.
Yeah.
Didn't do myself any favours. But you live and learn. And I had dry eyes. There was just so many. I had this one really crazy one, like formication. It's called like little creatures crawling over your skin, it felt like. And it was just awful feeling.
Yeah.
And the worst one, the most scariest was like palpitations at night, where I just felt like so you've experienced them, like just flutters, and then I think I'm going to start telling myself I'm dying or I'm having a heart attack, and I just had to really get myself into a zone and calm myself down.
Wow.
So there was lots. There were scary parts. They really were.
What did you think was happening?
I just thought I was stressed. I thought I was stressed.
Okay.
Yeah. I just thought I've never been here before.
Yeah. And I guess the pandemic,
homeschooling. Everything just came crashing
with
in.
10-year-olds then, was it?
Yeah.
So,
around
10,
12.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
I was just like, wow, and they just seemed to eat all day, and then it was the next.
Yeah.
And then Gary's never really home, and he was coming in and making noise, and I was thinking, I just want to get out of here. Yeah, it was awful. All my senses were heightened. Every noise felt so exasperated. I was like, So yeah, there was lots of layers to it, but long story short, it's a long story this, so I really cut it short. I was having some gynae tests anyway. Yeah. I decided to speak with my doctor. I've got a great relationship with him. We ran some bloods, and as I found out after doing my coaching certificate that the bloods came back normal, as they can do. You can have bloods on one day and the next day at the same time they could be different. So I thought, well, I feel far from bloody normal. I was like, I'm like not me. I don't feel like me. So I went down through my healthcare route, and I went down actually to London for a hysteroscopy, and that was the day kind of when they came back and said, we just want to tell you that you've no eggs left in your ovaries, and we diagnosed you with POI. And I just thought, what the hell is POI? Like, what does that mean for me now? And it was kind of like a mini bereavement in a really strange way to say that, but my family's complete and I didn't want any more girls. And as I said earlier, I'm very blessed and very fortunate and lucky that, I've had to, I've conceived, quickly, and everything's gone to plan and everything like that, which I know is not everybody's, journey, which is really sad. But I just thought, oh my gosh, like Mother Nature's taken over here and my body clock's slowing down, and thriving to become 40, what does that mean now for my body? Like, and it was quite scary, and I felt very much in denial due to my age.
Massive shock.
Massive shock. It was a massive shock. And I think the only piece of information I remember that kind of registered was that moment when the gynecologist just said to me, I cried one day in the appointment, and I just said, why now? Why 40? And he just said, I've had a 21-year-old in this room.
Oh.
And he weren't meaning it rude, but I just thought, oh my gosh, I need to put my big girl knickers on and pull myself together, and I've got to deal with this now. But again, it was an element of, they told me, that I needed, my estrogen levels were so low, I needed to get my estrogen in me, and got the prescription for HRT. And I just thought, touch wood, I've always been someone who's never been on any meds, and it was like another layer of picking up a prescription, every few months, and putting something, I got told you have the patches. I had the Marina coil. I didn't want a coil at 40. It was just so many things like, oh my gosh, all this has come crashing in, and I thought it was healthy, and I kind of was, but it was the shock and this vulnerability of kind of denial due to my age. It was huge. I didn't want to be in the menopause at 40.
Yeah.
So I had to take that into, I think that's where I feel like this elements now I can say I'm grateful to it for, because it's really made me just think, start to believe in myself more, stop putting things off, moving myself forward, and just thinking, you just don't know what's around the corner. And hearing, it was like kind of that, I wanted to meet other people who'd been in this space, and I just thought, if I'm struggling, and not even realised I was perimenopausal, and my periods had stopped and not acknowledged it, there must be other women out there who are feeling like me.
Yeah.
So I kind of just went down this journey then of kind of exploring, and found people on Instagram, doctors that I started following, and then I came across the coaching certificate, and I just thought, I want to do this, I want to learn more. And it was 4 months, and it was amazing, and it was kind of a lesson dropped every week, down from nutrition we touched on, because that's a huge topic in itself, but the endocrine system, learning about diet, movement, all these things, all your hormones, and I became fascinated with the word menopause. And I'd think, oh my gosh, like, this is fascinating, yeah. How are we not talking about this?
There is a stigma.
Yeah.
And, I kind of, knew that what this would be one of your what's it likes, and I'm kind of sat here like wanting to learn, because I don't know anything about menopause. I don't think I've ever heard my mum talk about it, or grandma talk about it, or it's just not something that's talked about in society, but every woman's going to go through it.
Yes.
And would you say that's kind of a like quite common experience, that like we don't know enough about it?
Yeah, I think that was the fascinating thing for me, was like, oh my gosh, like, it felt so generational, and so like in the past, and people had just shut up and got on with it. And I was like, we're not in that era now, kind of like, we want to be heard, we want to be valued, we want to be seen. We have got voices, and we need to stand up for ourselves. And I think a lot of it was that acknowledgement that as women, a lot of women didn't even understand their own anatomy. And I was like, I was that person.
I know. I'm that person.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd speak to people, and like, they wouldn't know when they were due on, or when that time in the month was. It was just, oh, well, it just appears. And I was thinking, maybe because I was so regular like that, that's why I noticed these things, that, my periods had stopped. It was kind of like, I can understand if, some people have 2 periods a month and everything like that. And it was like, or every few weeks, even 2 weeks. And it was just this other layer of like, we're not aware of our body, of what's going on. So I just wanted to know so much more. And it just made me think, I need to share my story. Again, I think it was kind of like, I wanted to advocate for the 40-year-olds, kind of, that this can happen. We're talking the UK average 51, menopause like on 10 years younger than the UK average. And I wanted to share that, get yourselves aware, get yourselves informed, educate yourselves, get to know it before it hits you in the face like it did with me. Because I definitely know my journey would have been different with the knowledge and, the understanding I have now.
How come? Like, what do you think? And what was the most challenging part, I guess?
Knowledge is power, isn't it? And understanding and everything. But I think the most challenging part was just me not wanting to accept it due to age, because I felt like I should be thriving at 40, and I am now. Like, I've got my head around it all and accepted it, but just why was my body slowing down? Why was my body clock, coming to that phase of, you know, it's done its stuff now and like it's left me. Yeah, there was a real huge piece on that. And even sometimes I didn't want to listen to the professionals, you know, who were telling it me. It just felt like, no, I can't be. Yeah, it's not right.
Did you feel alone at all?
Yes, I did. And I think that's why I wanted to connect and feel, because in my friendship group, no one was really talking about it. So I felt alone there. So I leaned into my friends who were in the 50s. I've got quite a few friends. And I was asking them their experiences. And they were brilliant for me. And then, like, when I'd got my HRT, I remember looking, my friend just said to me, we just get that bloody patch and slap it on your bottom and get on with it. And that was the day I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, what have I got to lose? Like, I'm not going to get any better at the minute. My estrogen's so low.
Yeah.
I need to get it back. And that was kind of the turning point. Yeah.
Yeah. And why you started This Is Me.
Yeah.
Which is, can you just share what This Is Me?
Yeah, so This Is Me. It's a platform to obviously tell my story and help women navigate, I think, these challenges, particularly around menopause. But I think women's health in general is just, we're just so I feel like I really want to say that, underlooked, and we're just not prioritised still in this day and age. And it's so sad, the struggles that I hear, you know, it's shocking. And I feel like we all need to, we're better as one. Community is everything. And I think everybody needs community. Everybody wants connection. Lockdown took so much of that away for so many different people that I think everyone's thriving it again. And it just felt like when I pressed go on that kind of, I'm going to launch and I'm going to tell my story, I thought, what the heck have I done? I cried for a week because I just saw people's like comments coming in and I felt so answerable to them, which was lovely. But I felt like, oh my gosh, I've got to respond. And every response I do is from me. It's not a team doing that.
Yeah.
So if I've got 100 things, I will find the time to reply to people because I just think I'm such a personable person. And that one-to-one, it felt like another service. I was like, I've got to show that I care and it's coming from me. And, you know, people would write lines and I'd think, wow, they've took the time to do that. I have to respond to that. That was, people were sharing themselves with me and I was like, I felt privileged again. It was like another layer of, oh my gosh. But I cried because I was just frightened at how much like it had brought me. It was a bit like excitement and also fear and what did this mean now, and I was just
what
growing
monster have we begun?
Organically. I'd never been someone I'd been private for so long and then it was like, oh, here I am. But it was so important, and that's all.
This is me.
This is me. I went back to my why and I just kept saying, what's my why? And my why is because if I help one woman in one day, my job's done. And it wasn't a job, but it was like my mission, my statement, I feel like, and hearing people say, you know, I've been to see the doctor now, or I've spoke to my husband, or a young woman saying I've been kinder to my mum because she must be really struggling, is just the best feeling in the world. It's like, oh, that's, you know, people that stop you or say you've really helped me. It's like, how have I helped you? You've helped yourself. But it's just, I suppose, conversations, isn't it? It's starting that.
This is why I think you're brave.
It is about brave.
You didn't have to share it.
No.
But look, you've shared it and suddenly people are like, oh, me. I think this is what happens is when the first person puts their hand up and says me, suddenly everyone else goes,
okay,
me too.
Have a look
round.
It's
okay to put my hand up now.
Yeah.
And that's like so primitive from being like a child in the classroom to sharing our experiences that are really hard. And what happens is you realise, oh, I'm not the only one. Someone else has gone through it. And it just makes those things so much easier.
It brought so much comfort, that just knowing that, that there was other, you know, people saying, oh, I've had POI. And then I'd be like looking at them and like, oh my gosh, look at their journey. And, you know, and I do want to say parts of it, as dark as days were sometimes really dark, there's been so much light since that, because I feel like I'm on, kind of call it, well, my menopause specialist kind of says to me, you know, at the minute the ingredients are right in the recipe, so let's keep doing what we're doing. And I'm not going to say that I say like I'm tweaking my journey. It doesn't mean that every month I'll feel the same, you know, but at the minute things are going well, so I don't want to interrupt anything. But I think it is that mindset and the other layers that you need to look into that are, you know, contributing to the way you feel. There's a lot to it. So I just felt like, gosh, I feel thankful to parts of it now for giving me, again, another layer and coming out and finding my voice and just feeling passionate to support women. Yeah,
definitely. When I first spoke to you on the phone, you were like, I would have never have done this a few years ago. And then coming back to that thing about evolving, recreating yourself and letting go of that judgment. how's This Is Me kind of in the menopause journey played a part of that?
I feel like I don't want to say, but I'm really, every day I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to just accepting, just I am my authentic self, but letting everybody just make their own opinions, because I can't control that. Yeah. And that is really like something that I've had to let go of, that layer of just, not everyone's going to like me, and I don't like everybody either. So, it's a world of like, we can't all. I remember when I first went into a counselling room and he read me so well, the counsellor, he said, in a room full of 100 people, 99 like you and the one doesn't. You're going to hone in on the one, aren't you? And I said, yeah, I need to know why they don't like me. That was what, and he'd worked me out as soon as and I thought, wow. So I do, but I'm really letting that go now and just thinking, we're not all for everybody. Everyone brings different forms of themselves and different elements to the table, don't they? And just treat people. I always say, treat people as you want to be treated. And I love kind of saying, got loads of phrases and statements, but like, it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice is one that I always live by, because it's
got so many good sayings.
Yeah,
I'd love to be in your house.
I do want to.
Have you got them on your walls?
No,
As a
but
word
like
girl.
some people hate
Oh,
quotes,
you
don't
need
they?
little
But I
word
need
quotes.
to. I have my book and I used to write them in. So I do want to do. I'd love to do a little quote book one day in time.
Yeah,
of things that I've lived by. But no, it's been a journey. It really has, and it's just growing. And my community means so much to me. They give me so much that I just feel like, I want to give back. And it's important to me. Yeah, it definitely is.
And for people who might be beginning of the menopause journey right now or going through it, like, is there anything like practical that you can? I mean, let's start with people maybe at the beginning of it and they're like, what's going on? Is there anything practical people can do?
I think the biggest message I can say is, your body is a vessel. You know it better than anybody else. It's your own masterpiece and you know it inside and out, and it gives you the signs, so listen to it. I would say when you're hungry, it gives us that message, doesn't it? We listen and we feed it. So why sometimes when we're tired or we're, not listening to slowing down or something doesn't feel right, you know better than any healthcare professional your own body. So, sometimes it's awful to feel that you're hearing people having to fight for, the answers and things like that, but keep going, don't give up. And, believe in yourself. You really have got to believe and trust in your, like we say, the gut. That is such a special saying, isn't it? Trust your gut, because it's so important with that. So I think that self-belief and knowing yourself is like, it's really, really important. I say educate yourself, get to know anything. You might not be there yet, even if you're in your 20s or, just learn little bits as you go. I know it's way off, but who knows? I never thought it was on my radar.
Never thought,
No. And, please God, it's not on a lot of people's, in that way. But and I hope people sail through it, and some women do, and brilliant. But some people have a lot of, symptoms, and some are really debilitating, and, mentally and physically. So tune into you and, get to know your own body and, speak up for it. Because it kind of, like I say, it gives us all those signals all the time. It's also so empowering to think that, it is this stage of your life where you become so much more, I want to call it my wise woman years. I've been so wiser now. I feel like things that you used to do, you don't worry as much. You just think, you know what, I'm getting on with it. I'm not going to let that hold me back. So it's brought a lot of comfort and confidence that, it's happened at the time. It happened for a reason. I don't know why, but for that reason, it's brought a lot of strength for me. So so sometimes trying to take a negative, put it into a positive, and it can be, like you say, I don't have periods anymore. Yippee.
Yippee.
I can wear white jeans and stand up and not panic.
There's always a silver lining.
Always. You've got to find a silver lining.
You're such an inspiration. For anyone that's like in the depths right now and struggling, what would you want to say to them?
I'd say, I hear you. And be kind to yourself, and just know that nothing's linear. It doesn't last forever. And I think if you can, kind of prioritise you as much as you can, and that is so hard to say and do, and I'm pot calling the kettle here in that way, but if you can in that stage, and be as open as you can. You might be a really private person, but share how you feel, because people do want to listen and people care and people are there for you. And that's within the workplace and everything. There's so many great organisations doing a lot now and it's brilliant. Some are, way behind, but some are, and, have asked for that support within that space, because it can be really daunting, and you enter in, going into work where a lot of hours a day are in your workplace, aren't they, more than home life.
Than home,
so you need to be able to be honest and be you. So share that with somebody that you confide in, or your buddy at work, or whatever it is, and just don't feel alone, because I've learned through this journey you're really not alone, and there's so many people that want to cheer you on and everything. And I think women supporting women is my biggest thing. That for me just is like every day. I just think there's nothing more. There's no jealousy there. There's no one's competing. We're all supporting each other, and that gives me so much joy.
We need to.
We need to.
we
do.
to.
We have to.
Is there anyone that you would like to recognise?
There's so many people, and I think what I'd like to say is that, again, through menopause, I've met some really, over the last year, some people that I've now met that I know will be friends for life through this journey.
Wow.
And I love the season, reason, lifetime friends, and I've had a lot of reason friends over time. I know my lifetime ones, but I feel like I've made new lifetime friends.
Wow.
And I don't know whether that's an age thing or again, this wise woman years that are coming to me that are kind of connecting on a different energy level, and I'm their cheerleader and they're mine. So there'd be too many to shout out, but I think the ones who I speak to regularly know who they are, and I'm just so grateful to them. Yeah, there's a lot of women that I feel like I'm so blessed to have in my life. Yeah, I really am.
Our friends is just the most important, aren't they?
It really is so important. Yeah.
I take so much hope from your story. I think you like, even kind of saying, going through the menopause when you did. Yeah. You've met some lifers.
Yeah.
You've become more confident. You've created this incredible community of other women supporting women. It is like, and I don't mean it in a trite way, because it's so easy to be like, everything happens for a reason, and you can be sat there like, well, it's really hard. Yes. But there is so much hope and encouragement in your story, and I just think it is just that reminder that no matter what you're going through, that the hope and goodness can come from it. And you don't know how it's shaping you or forming you, but it will shape and form you for the better. Emma, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can I just mention, though, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
You not discovered my beautiful necklace I am wearing from yourself that I got gifted at Happy Place Festival last year at Tatton Park. And I wear it so much, and I it's really comforting. It's a real comfort to me. And it says on my pop-on this... gosh, I was going to see my other statement, you are enough. And I really feel like I'm coming into that I know now that it was the message was there, you are enough, and I think we all are enough. So thank you for this. I do treasure it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Recognise What's It Like podcast. We hope this chat has brought you hope and connection, has left you feeling inspired, and above all, has made you feel seen, valued, and recognised to the core. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.